I'm getting this set up for our asynchronous day, which is Wednesdays. I'll also have some of these in my back pocket, so to speak, in case I need to be somewhere and can't be present with you. So this is our first asynchronous lesson. I'm going to use Lightbot, which is an activity I've done in the past. You may choose to watch this instructional video before or after, and even if you've done Lightbot in the past, I'm going to frame it for you a little bit more effectively. Lightbot is part of the Hour of Code, which is an organized approach to teaching people how to program. It makes sense for me to use those types of things in class here. It also runs on a web browser using Flash. I believe it should also work on an iPad or any of those iOS devices as well. So there are some principles of an engaging experience that span a lot of digital creations, and that includes storylines of movies, video games, and even, yes, advertising and commercials, where we create an association with, hopefully, a likable or unlikable character. In this instance, the main protagonist is controlled by you. What I want you to experience here is the process of taking control and programming another object. When we take control of another object and we tell it what to do, it's very important that we pay attention to certain principles. If, for example, I were to start shouting out or ask students, typically I do this in a traditional classroom, give me an idea of something that you might do in real life when you're getting ready to go to school. And people might say things like, eat breakfast, get in the shower, put on your clothes, go to the bus stop, and they'll start throwing out all kinds of things, and what I'll do is I'll write them down exactly in order on the whiteboard as they've been done. And I usually try to bias the list so that it ends up being something funny, acknowledging people as they say it, so that you can envision a person, in the shower with their clothes on, eating their breakfast, and they've never gotten out of the shower, let alone going to the bus stop. What? Because you would literally have to tell the robot to not just get in the shower, but also to get out of the shower. And so this experience will teach you that in a very hands-on way. As you go through this experience, you're going to find out that this is true of programming as well, that the computer doesn't know what you want it to do, and you literally have to tell it exactly what to do. Another way to do this would be if we wrote out the instructions for how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and having you actually tell somebody else how to do it. Well, you used to be able to do that, but peanut allergies got real common, and to be honest, this works better because it's not messy, although you're probably hungry for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich now. All right, so there's something to understand about the interface here. There's something called main, and the main is kind of like your way in. There's only one main, and nobody can call main. It's just where you start. The other two building blocks, depending on what version of Lightbot you're using or what programming language you're using, could be called a function, a procedure, an event. There could be different names to basically say or group, this is a repeatable set of commands. And they can be grouped and used by each other or by main. So as you approach these problems, you're going to be controlling a little character that can jump up or down and can move left and right, one thing at a time. And he has a special function to light a light bulb. So as you go through and experience those single commands, don't be limited by a straight line path, and keep in mind that in the higher levels especially, patterns are going to be the only way to solve it. You just won't have enough to single step your way through and solve problems at a certain point. So again, cleverly reusing things in an efficient way is a very programmatically smart approach. It's very efficient, and it will solve your problems in a way that you can reuse the code over again. Another key idea of programming. So here's an example where somebody did what we call brute force method. They basically forced Lightbot to take the steps, get all the way to the target, and complete the activity. They have no room for any extra steps. In the version below, you can see that the developer employed a procedure which is anomalous, or not anomalous, synonymous, there you go, synonymous with a function or a procedure, or at any rate, this is exactly what you'd want to be thinking about. All right, so there's more than one way to solve many of these. Not just from the prior example, but you may end up in a different ending position based on the steps that you give your player, and that might prompt, especially when you're working in a room full of people, it might prompt you to compare, wow, you solved it differently than me. And since we don't have the advantage of being in the same room, I was going to show you an example of that. So when you get to problem 3.6, and it could be done a number of ways, here's 5 different ways it was solved in class. And you can come back to the slide if you need it for 3.6. But do your best to kind of understand how you can use repeatable steps and processes, and this is laying down the foundation for programming. Just for full disclosure, there is a Lightbot app you can actually download. It's got even additional features, but that's extra and above and beyond just in case you get hooked on it. A couple of suggestions: when you're doing the implementation or you're running it, you can mute the sound if you want to. It's got kind of a snappy little rhythm that goes over and over. And I know when I got the whole lab lit up with this, it gets to be a bit much. So feel free to mute the sound if you want to. It is a Flash application right now, so you will need to allow a Flash app to run. And hopefully you'll get around that.